2 tasty sprints, 5 sweet power-ups, 1 crunchy climb, all sprinkled on top with a wonderful new point system. This is the first points race of ZRL 24-25. Stage 2 is on the Sugar Cookie route. This Recon is sponsored by Level Velo CC, suppliers of all manner of cycling clothing, particularly specialists in indoor clothing. I'll be wearing their kit for this ZRL season, and I suggest you want to head on down to their website to get all the best kit, look professional, feel like the business. Level Velo CC, you know where to go. Big changes this year in ZRL in the way that the points are being allocated. There's essentially been a big switch away from fastest through the segment to first across the line. So file points, FAL, now go from 20 for the first across the banner to 1 for the 20th across the banner. For FTS, or fastest through the segment, now only the fastest 5 racers will be allocated points, 10 down to 2 in 2-point increments, so 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. For the first time, there'll be a new segment of points called Podium Bonus Points, and therefore those who finish the race in the first 5 places. Bit strange that the podium goes down to 5, but hey, what are you going to do? And those scored the same as the FTS points, so 10, 8, 6, 4, 2. Finish points will be determined by how many races there are in the race. So if there's 59 and you come first, you get 59 finish points. Although it won't be categorized as such, you can essentially add these podium bonus points with the fin points to work out how many points are at stake at the finish. So I've put them down in the total finish, which I thought was a nice title for how many points you get in total at the finish. I've made some lovely little course notes for you which give all the details of the segments and some little extra bits that you might want to be aware of. You can print them off from the Level Velo CC website. There really is some magnificent stuff there. You want to get down there, buy some clothes. And there's a full library of all recons from past ZRL seasons that you might want to browse through if you're so inclined. So, Level Velo CC, thanks again. Let's take a deep dive look at these sprints, and we've got some footage from our very own Nathan Craik, who did a very successful points race here a little while ago. So we're going to have a look at the footage from his race. Now the first sprint is the Stoneway sprint, and as you'll know from the course notes from Level Velo CC website, the first sprint is scored for both FTS and FAL. And because FTS is so lowly scored, it doesn't really matter as much where it actually officially starts. Some people will be going quite long and heading for the higher scoring FAL points from quite far out, I would imagine. So you've got to keep an eye on breaks, whereas the FTS is quite a low reward, high risk strategy, but that doesn't mean it should be discounted. There's points there to be gained and you might want to go for them. So let's have a look. So the sprint actually starts after a bit of a bump, which sort of kicks in at about 7.6, and then the actual start point officially is here at 7.8, but yeah, you probably want to really be attacking from the back, but from probably the bottom of that ramp, and then gradually build up your speed, use your aero power up, which I'll have from the jungle pen, and power all the way to the finish. Now there's 4 sprint sections on this Southern Coast Roadie mainly bit, and you're only scored on the first and the third. So if you need, you'll pick up a power up on the Stoneway sprint, and don't be afraid to use that if you need to catch back on, because you're going to pick up another one at the Acropolis sprint which you're not scored on. So you can pick up on there and you'll be fine for the third sprint, which will be coming up at about 16 kilometers. The next sprint on which we're scored is the Sasquatch sprint, which is the third sprint segment on the route, and it comes after a little bit of a rolling bit. Again, I think people probably will go long. If you can use your aero early on this little bump ahead of it, then that might well pay dividends. So the official sprint starts about here on the right. So I think it's about 16.2. Oh, I've slowed it down a bit early, but yeah, it's there on the right. But as you can see, someone got away early here. I think you can gain some, if you can get some extra speed by using your aero, then you could well get a gap, and that'll be very hard to bring back on what's a sort of downish approach to the sprint. It largely flattens off and maybe even kicks up a little, but yeah, it's a very fast sprint. So if you can get a gap on people, is quite hard to close that down. But Nathan does extremely well there. I think he's picking up quite a lot of points. So yeah, good on you, Nathan. Oh, do like and subscribe to the channel, and that would be much appreciated. We'll be providing recons throughout the ZRL seasons. Let's have a look at Nathan's full race. Now, I've sped it up quite a bit in the bits that don't matter quite so much. So we start out on this big descent. I doubt that anyone can get away unless they choose a gravel bike, in which case they'll soon be wrapped up afterwards. It's quite a long descent. There are little bumps in it, so you've got to keep your eye out a bit. The first sprint is only after 8 kilometers, so if someone does get away from you, it could potentially be dangerous. They will pick up a power up after you do this first gate here, and you can see someone has got away, but I think they're slowly reeled in. Nathan does a good job of getting some draft here, and as I mentioned earlier, the sprint starts after a bit of a ramp, so it starts ramping up about here, and the sprint officially starts here. But yeah, if you can get your power down on that hill, that's where you get the most bang for your buck, and then use your aero about here, maybe a little bit earlier in the higher categories. It's a 400-meter sprint. Nathan's keeping his head down, and yeah, takes it all the way, takes second. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you'll pick up another aero there, which you can use to bring people back or chase back on. Don't forget, you will be scored down to 20th position in that sprint, so people who've maybe not competed for sprint points before might stand a bit of a chance. But see what you can do. Whatever you do in ZRL, at least have a go at something. Just have a crack. So another thing that you could potentially try is that in some ZRL sprints are not scored, but some idiot always goes off the front and sprints them anyway. So you could use this to your advantage by sprinting for this second, or making it look like you're sprinting for this second banner. Use your aero, go through it. However, start a breakaway. Maybe go with a teammate, maybe go with a friend on another team. That might look even more convincing. And it's about 5 kilometers that you've got to stay away. Now, I think people are going to be quite frisky and want to bring you back, but you'll be helping your teammates by going for it. So yeah, try a bit of a breakaway. Use the look like an idiot approach and look like you're sprinting towards a banner that isn't really a sprint, and use it as an opportunity to get away. There's quite a lot of rolling ground between these sprints. It is the longest race of the ZRL season, I think, at 39.2 kilometers. So there's something for everyone, really. Something for the sprinters at the start, and then there's the epic climb near the end, and then a further sprint as well. If you can do them all, then you'll absolutely clean up. So we're coming through this towards the Acropolis sprint now, and as I previewed earlier, there is a bit of a descent, and then so it's quite fast going into that. So if you can get a gap before then down this around this rolling ground, it is quite hard to bring it back. But most people will leave their sprinter here, use their aero as they approach the banner, and yeah, that's it as far as sprints go. So I've really sped it up here. You go through all around this sort of newish southern coastal road, around the foggy area, and maybe another chance for a breakaway. There's quite a there's a fair old distance before the epic climb, so you might be able to get a gap. There's opportunities, little rises here and there where you can make a go for it. The full link to Nathan's video, if you want to watch it in all its glory at normal speed, will be linked to below. There's a bit of a bump here, and you pick up a feather power up here. So if you wanted to go for a breakaway, this little bump afterwards, maybe not a bad point to go for. Nathan's obviously a little bit exhausted after his sprinting exploits to try that, but people won't have been sprinting. That isn't a scored sprint, so might be a good place to get away again if you want to try and build up a bit of a lead before you hit the epic. And the good thing is, if you do get a breakaway there, you've got to make a joke here about stopping for a crab. Everyone should make the joke. At least one person per race should make the joke about stopping for crab at the crab place. Yeah, because it's quite a steep climb, you lose almost all the draft straight away. So there's not much to be gained in terms of being in a group once you get to the epic climb. That was Alpe du Tempus, which is a kind of ironic name for the little ramp as you come out the bridge. That's named on the course notes. So rolls back down there. So if you do break there, people are likely to bring it back. There's a little rest before you come into the epic climb, and then up we go. So it's quite steep. Starts off at about 7%, keeps that all the way to about this corner, where doesn't really drop down very much. Back up to 7%, and I think it even drops down a little bit here to 5-ish, then ramps back up to 8 here. I think it gets really steep on this corner, so up to 9-ish. This is really tough, this bit. Back down to 6 a little bit, but it's fairly consistent between 6 and 9%. Really tough until you get to about here, and this is named by Thomas Sorensen as the Bridge of Dying Watts, because you can't really get any rest either. So it's about 3% consistently across this bridge. There's some advantage to being in a group, but if you've got any energy left, you can push away from here, people here, or perhaps catch people back up, make an effort to get into a group, and then there's a final horrible little kick as you come off the bridge at about 6-7% around the 30-kilometer mark, and finally some respite down into this. But really it's not much, because you've got this rolling terrain, so you really want to stick with the group. I think someone's just dropped off Nathan's group here, and there's one final sort of substantial kick really, which comes, when is it? A bit more gravel here, but I would choose a sort of fastish all-rounder. Is this the final kick? Yeah, it's never particularly steep, but it's reasonably stained at around 2-3%. So if you've got any energy left in your legs, this is a place to put it out. Get yourself a bit of a lead before we head into the same descent that we started on. For bike choice, I would go for possibly a Addict RC, Pinarello, something like that. Maybe with the disc wheels, maybe with something sort of aero-ish. If you don't feel like doing the disc wheels, but there's a long old distance on the coast road, and this is a fast descent. If you're going to be heading for finish points, there's lots of points on the sprint where you want to be fast on the flat. Yes, the climb will make a difference, but you've got to get there first, and you don't want to miss out on points by thousandths of a second because you're on a slightly heavier bike. So Nathan does a great job just approaching the sprint now. We're on these boardwalks, so the draft will make slightly less of a difference. It will reduce speed somewhat. The rolling resistance is slightly higher on these boards, I think. Into the last couple 100 meters, give it everything you've got, empty the tank. There's no point holding back now. Nathan does a great job. What a guy. So the very best of luck for you in the ZRL Stage 2. It's a great old points race, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and head on down to Level Velo CC.